Alright, so part two, talking about the belt rig or belt kit, whatever phrase you want to use. As I already covered in the first video, with the chest rig, I tried to match up the pockets as much as possible. So I'll hold it up so you can see it. So we have 6 mags, 3 and 3, 6 mags across here. We have first aid kit. We have, this is a smoke, have a smoke, had radio, and water, and then the only thing that's really in a different general location is the admin or utility pouch. I ended up having to put it over here because there's only a way to put it over the buckle. So besides this, everything is in the same relative position to the chest rig. I'm trying to do that to keep it as equal and even as possible. There's obviously different ways to set this up, but I was trying to mimic them as much as possible. So the biggest difference, as I said, is going to be the admin pouch. It is harder to have a real big one. You're going to be having to do, instead of a wide one, probably a narrow and deep one. I found this is a leader's pocket kit, whatever. It has little pouches for everything, so you can put in a rangefinder. It seems to work. One thing though is if you have maps, you're going to have to fold them up into like a smaller square, versus on the chest rig, you could have them just in their regular form because it's real wide and you just tuck it right in. So if you have a map or paper items, you're going to be forced to fold them smaller. Also, you would, if you're using a belt, you might just want to rely on your pockets. You can still use, I find that a lot of times if I'm wearing the suspenders, they will block me from getting into the pockets a little bit. So you might want something that might end up using your shoulder or arm pockets more. Whatever, food for thought. It still works, it's just different. I think it's a con, I guess you can't say it is a con of the belt kit, is that work if you have a lot of small tools or you're going to be doing a lot of things with maps, compass, a lot of maybe binoculars, range finding, then this is less ideal because you have to offset it one way. You could move it to the front, but you have to use a different type of pouch. You're often going to have to fold things up. Granted, there's always exceptions to everything. You could use that longer pouch, just put all your mags on one side and then have your utility pouch here. My only concern was having the one side of the belt end up being much heavier than the other. And also, like I said, I was trying to keep everything distributed equally between the two different setups. That way one wouldn't be biased to the other, where it's like, oh yeah, well, chest rig, everything's on the left, belt kit, everything's on the right. So, also a reason why I did it this way. One of the pros is if you're in a place that's very hot or humid, you do have a lot more breathability with the belt, as your only contact with your body is just kind of a one line around the waist, and that's really not, you don't really lose a lot of heat through your hips. It's usually going to be head, chest, or upper body, stuff like that. So it is much cooler in that sense. It would be more comfortable. So that's a pro. Other thing is you do have more load carrying capacity. So right now I just have 6, but you can see with the style of these pouches, which I'm going to talk about later because this Safariland pouch is awesome and I really wish they still made it. Whereas on the chest rig, I was able to have room for like one smoke, and then if I wanted to do more, I was going to have to really either reach way back around or use the bib. On these, I'm not using them right now, but I can do like 2 different smokes plus a frag, 2 frags. That you can really load it up with some of the belt pouches. Also too, as you can see, I do still have free space back here, so I could even theoretically move, say, the medical kit to the back, add another canteen, add more mags. So you do have a lot greater amount of carrying capacity, and it's more evenly distributed with the belt versus the chest rig. Chest rig is going to tend to want to pull forward a bit because it's all right here in the front. Besides, with a belt, you can distribute it much more evenly, and then also by having a 4-point harness. I found this. This is a commercial one. I like this better than the regular LC2 or LC1 with the single strap, because I feel like having the H harness holds it much better than having the single strap. Pins may vary, but I was trying, for some reason, the Y harness is a trendy thing. I don't know why. Or an X. I'm not a huge fan of X. I feel like H, like the old Vietnam era, or this one, which is basically a knockoff of Alice, but no, an H style. I feel they're superior. Or I know there are other brands out there that do it. Let's see, so those are the pros. So let's get my quasi map out. Oh, also, I'll cover this later on, but pistol mounting it's much more comfortable and easy to mount a pistol on here. Also, as far as accessing things, it's very easy to access stuff on the chest rig. Obviously, it's all right here in front of you. But if you had to load it up way around, you kind of run out of space. Or on the belt, because it's lower, you could put things on the back and still easily reach them. Let's see. All right, so one of the cons is going to be, or I said it's not mat friendly. Also, if you're doing a lot of seated work, it doesn't. Take it with a grain of salt, but it does get in the way if you're having to sit down. By having the stuff around your waist, you can't sit back against chairs, or if you're trying to squat down, it does tend to interfere with your legs. So you often want to have it hiked up higher, maybe like belly button height almost, so that way it's not around it. I prefer them lowers because it's, I don't know, it's more comfortable, but you might want to hike it up, cinch it up, and have it raised up a little bit higher. I have two different styles of pouches here. On this Safariland one, I'm able to adjust the MOLLE straps to push it up higher, whereas on this, it's not tagged. I must say it's SDS, but this is part off of a MOLLE medic set. This one, because of the way the webbing strap is, I can't move it up, so it tends to ride a little lower. So for riding around in cars a lot, or you're going to be doing a lot of sitting in chairs versus just hiking around, this might not be your ideal setup there, because it does really get in the way. Like trying to sit in a car, even though I don't have anything directly on the back, it does still push you out away from the seat and you're kind of floating out there. So that's a con. What else? So other thing, it's not a huge deal, but having the radio, you have to mount it down here, and you're going to have to run your headset or your cables to your headset all the way up. So it's not a big deal, but it does mean you're going to have to do a lot more cable management, or tape it up and really have it secured there. You could do a shoulder mount, but when you wear a ruck or a backpack, it's going to want to interfere, or also too, when you sling a rifle, it's going to want to catch that antenna there. Actually, I had a pouch mounted here, so that I put a rifle on, the sling instantly kept catching the antenna there. So either you want, if you are going to do it up here, make sure you tape your antenna to the riser, suspender, whatever term you want to call it for it. Tape it down, and so that way it's not sticking out if you're going to do it that way. I do like them up higher because it shortens the length of stuff I have to manage, but also by down here you can see it lays real flat. So it's farther away, it's a little funkier to work with than it's a chest rig. So again, these are all personal preferences, grain of salt, just something to think about. So don't freak out and be like, oh, you're an idiot, oh, this. It's just something to think about. All right, so I got a lot more cable management, a little harder to reach versus on a chest rig, but it also, if you have it down low, the antenna tends to stay out of the way more. I can see it lays really flush there. Let's see, one thing, I'd hit pop, I don't have that feature. One sec, this is a Pro, or whatever you want to take it. Handy dandy rubber duck. Right. So, on a chest rig, if you noticed last time in the last video, when you let go of the rifle, it tends to sit out far away. Or if you have a belt, there's nothing on your chest, so it does lay much closer and much flatter. That is neither here nor there. I don't think it's going to get in your way or affect you either way, but it is something to think about, that, you know, if it's going to be pushing out of the way, could that potentially be an issue for whatever it is that you need to be doing or are trying to do. And then you can see here, when I had the radio right there, as when the sling would come down, it would catch right there in the antenna, just like that. So just play with it. I mean, just playing with it right here doing the video, I found little things. So, laying prone, you can lay prone with either. You can technically get a little bit lower with this, but you gotta remember, yeah, your chest rig sticks out on your chest a little bit. Well, your belt kit's gonna stick out on your hips a little bit. So it's not that much difference really. Yes, you are able to go slightly lower prone in a belt. Does it make a difference? I don't really think so. I mean, it's so minor. I mean, unless you're really stacking out your chest rig to where it's like a foot thick, I don't think it's that big of a difference. I mean, if you're doing something that requires you to be that skinny, then okay, maybe, you know, do a belt, maybe do flat pouches, you know, something you can really flatten yourself out there. All right, so, Now, this is a little bit of a con. If you're using commercial packs, belt kit, they tend to ride lower the way they have their waist belt set up. So if you're using commercial packs, a belt kit's really not going to work for you. You can try lowering this down to ride below it, but you're going to end up with your belt going around your butt pretty much. So as you can see, with like the hip belt, yeah, it's not attached, but still now the pouch is, just don't clip it. Well, even if you don't clip it, it's now pushed out and you can't access your pouches. So if you're using commercial packs, a belt kit is not going to be the way to go for you. If you're using a shorter back, like an Alice or an FILB, I'll talk to E, they have the same back length on them. So here's an Alice frame, and you can see that if you're using the new Marine Corps pack or an Alice pack, you can still use a belt kit. I mean, obviously, if you look at the 90s and 80s, they did just fine. What you'd want to do is just loosen up a little bit, let it hang down a little bit lower, and then it'll sit below the pack frame. And that's just fine. I've heard stories every time. I always forget this thing sticks out so far. Once I was on the old weapons man side, one guy said they just unbuckle it, loosen the straps, and that way it would be plenty loose and low under the pack. So that way it was fine. And then once they got into it, ditch the packs, rebuckle, and then give it a little cinch. Now, so that is a little bit of a con. So make sure if you're going to use a belt kit, you're using a shorter pack like this and not a commercial, or even like a real short back, like use a Molly 4000, or if you use a modded Alice pack, then you don't have to adjust it. So then you can keep it cinched up, and it's plenty high above it. Alright, so I'm going to hit pause. Bear with me, I'm going to hit pause, and then I'm going to go over a few last things, and we'll call it. Alright, so as I said before, the biggest benefit to a belt is you can really load it up. It has a much greater carrying capacity. You can go from just, say, a regular fighting load of ammo, water, stuff like that, to actually existence gear. So bear with me. These are old pouches. I'm running out of new pouches. I didn't want to have to cannibalize a belt in between pausing to build out a whole new one. So besides, it still works. I mean, honestly, Alice isn't that. I mean, there are newer and better things out there, but honestly, Alice still works just fine. So as you can see, and also mounting a pistol is much easier. Whereas on a chest rig, you have to either do a chest thing or something up here is a little awkward. On a belt, sorry, random holster, I just had to grab something. You can see you can mount it just fine. It's very comfortable in a very natural position, nothing crazy. It's much easier to pull out, and also you can have it low enough to where it won't interfere with stuff. Now I have 1, 2, 3 mag pouches. So I have 9 mags easily. Oh, also pistol ammo. I put the radio up here because I did this earlier. I would probably really mount it down here. If you have a modern pouch that has the side wings, then you could mount it on the front of that. That would actually be a really good spot for like a radio or something. Now in the back, did have to move first, but in the back now I have 2 waters plus a field pack. So you have double the water, and now you can carry things like a jacket, shelter, stuff like that. And if you're going to use a short back like this, or Alice, but this one doesn't interfere as much, you can really now load up quite a bit. So, and then plus it allows you, I kind of like that you can drop different things and keep, I feel like you could really load this one out in a very interesting way. Both load, obviously I could have taken that big giant commercial pack in a chest rig and essentially carried as much stuff, but those are the pros for a belt kit, is you're able to carry much more than you would on a chest rig, and you can scale it much more. If you want to do, just ammo and water, boom, done. You want to do something like ammo, water, tent, jacket, food, then you can do that. You can scale it much more. So there you go. So that way you can still have all that stuff in your orbit. Hey, if you want to just do a ton of water, you can do that too. So, and it is much more evenly spaced and carried. I think that's going to cover most all as far as the differences. As far as a personal preference, I don't know. guess it depends on what I'm doing. I feel like I really do like the chest rig and how it's being able to work and do all the administrative stuff. Just get right in there, get your binoculars out, rangefinder, going through maps. I really do like that. I mean, granted, it's hot here, but it's dry. So even if it's 100 degrees, having this party covered, it's not the end of the world. It's no different than saying having a plate carrier on. If it was humid, then maybe I would be leaning more towards this. I guess it just all depends. I think if I was going for something a long duration, I would probably maybe lean towards a belt. Maybe. I don't know. Make your own decisions. As far as getting into stuff, this one's empty, but you can get in, reload, pistol pouches, read from this side. You can get just as easily as you can from a chest rig. Maybe best of both worlds would be something like do a belt for weapons and for ammo and water, and then do like a little small chest rig for some of your administrative stuff. That might be the best of both worlds for you. So choose what works for you. I know it's a cop out, but like at most things, it is dependent. But so there's really no right or wrong answer. Just think about what you're going to be doing. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, I don't really have any time on either of these, so this is just a blank slate comparison of unbiased. Hey, what's a belt? Hey, what's a chest rig? So if you can't decide, or if you have a blank slate as well, you're just brand new to this, hopefully this will kind of steer you in the right direction as to what you think you'll be doing. Just one thing, even don't remember, it's not necessarily you don't necessarily need to have everything in the kitchen sink. You just want to have everything that you need. Hope that makes sense. So, all right, guys. Got my remote again. Take it easy.